Wesley Dodd was born in Washington State on July 3rd in 1961. Mr. Wesley grew up in what many would describe as an abusive home. Mr. Wesley was often neglected by his parents. His parents had no love for Wesley, and all of their time and attention went towards his two younger brothers. At the young age of just 13, Wesley began exposing himself to neighborhood kids. Wesley's parents would either not notice this behavior or were just too busy to pay it any attention. Wesley grew up to be an intelligent, good-looking young man. Having these qualities made it easy for Wesley to get jobs. He would often get jobs as babysitters and camp counselors. Wesley spent most of his teenage years learning how to deceive and abuse children. He was just smart enough to handle his own around adults, while being deceiving enough to fool the younger kids. He would often challenge and dare the kids to go skinny dipping with him. Wesley was already caught on multiple instances. He was caught molesting a 15-year-old, but unfortunately, he was just sentenced to professional counseling. As Wesley got older, he became desperate for more victims. But rather than using his old method of simply tricking and misleading kids, he began using force and simply forcing himself on children in and around the neighborhood. In 1981, after a failed attempt to capture two little girls was reported to the police, Wesley joined the Navy. However, this did not stop his desires. While stationed in Washington, he began once again hunting for potential victims. He hung around the movie theater looking for little girls who lived on the base. After the Navy, he got a job at a paper mill. There, he offered a group of boys $50 to play strip poker. Nothing was done, even though Wesley admitted his intentions to the authorities. Soon after, he was arrested for attempt molestation and was sentenced to serve 19 days in jail. This isn't the last time Wesley was caught. He was caught and arrested several times after this incident, but as usual, none of it ever added up to any real jail time. It was the fact that Wesley had assaulted around 30 children with no real consequences that allowed him to keep going, and at this point, Wesley went to the next level. He built a torture machine and began tying his victims. In 1987, at the age of 26, he stopped ignoring his urges and began acting upon them. He first tried to lure an 8-year-old boy into the woods, but the boy managed to escape back to his mother, where the police was called. Despite having an extensive background of assaulting children, he received just 118 days in prison and a 1-year probation. Later, on Labor Day weekend, 10-year-old Billy and 11-year-old Carl were late getting home from the golf course and decided to take a shortcut to the park. They came upon a trail where they met Wesley blocking their way. Without hesitation, Wesley said, "Follow me." And the boys did as instructed and followed Wesley. Once off the trail, Wesley molested and stabbed the boys. Believing both were dead, Wesley took off. Billy was found alive but would shortly die later at the hospital. Carl's body was found several hours later after his parents reported him missing. In the beginning, Wesley was paranoid at the thought of being caught, but after realizing that the police had no leads, his fantasies and urges grew stronger and stronger. He now had the urge to castrate a young boy and cook his genitalia and eat them in front of his victim. Soon after this, Wesley drove to Oregon and walked around the parks and playgrounds. On this day, he couldn't find any victims. However, the next day, he traveled to a local park and noticed 4-year-old Lee playing alone. Wesley approached him and asked him if he wanted to make some money. Lee, who had already been taught not to talk to strangers, said no. Wesley became upset and grabbed the hand of 4-year-old Lee and brought him over to his car and later on to his house. While in Wild's apartments, Lee went through unimaginable acts of torture, all documented by Wesley with pictures. He took the pictures of the boy's body hanging in his apartment. Lee's body was found later on November 1st, 1989. Wesley avoided local parks. Instead, he stuck to movie theaters. However, for whatever reason, Wesley had a change of heart and confessed to the police what he had done. He showed them the pictures and the torture rack that he had used. Dodd was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder plus the attempted kidnapping from the theater. Wesley was sentenced to death on July 15, 1990. Dodd refused to appeal his death penalty and chose to hang as a method of execution, claiming he wanted to experience what Lee had experienced. He told the court, "I must be executed before I have an opportunity to escape or kill someone within the prison. If I do escape, I promise you I will kill and rape and enjoy every minute of it." Wesley Allen Dodd was executed at 12:05 a.m. on June 5, 1993. His final statement was, "I was once asked by somebody, I don't remember who, if there was any way sex offenders could be stopped. I said no. I was wrong. I was wrong when I said there was no hope, no peace. There is hope, there is peace. I found both in the Lord Jesus Christ. Look to the Lord and you will find peace. There are no apologies for his crimes, no obvious look of remorse."